Good morning. My name is Sanjay Singh, and I lead the Google ecosystem at HCL. HCL has been helping many customers around the world transform to the cloud by leveraging new capabilities on the Google Cloud, which helps them drive their digital transformation agenda and, and innovation strategies. Today, we will be having a fireside chat and learn from Papa John's how they embarked on their DCT, as we call it, data center transformation journey, and how they leveraged Google Cloud to drive innovation across their business value chain. We are joined today by Sarika, who leads their digital transformation agenda on the Google Cloud. And Sarika, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay. Hello, everyone. This is Sarika Attal. I lead the enterprise architecture and technology services teams at Papa John's. I've been with Papa John's for 13 years now and focused primarily on digital engineering for a decade, and then started exploring more of enterprise architecture and now infrastructure technologies. And I'm very glad to be here today and share some insights from our transformation story along with Sanjay here. But before we begin into all this topics, Sanjay, I have to ask you, what is your favorite pizza?
Papa John's, the thin crust.
All right, good choice. We have this rule: we don't start any new meetings with new partners and team members without asking about their personal favorite pizza. Mine is cheese pizza, by the way. Never gets old.
Fantastic, great. So I'm sure in transformation journey to the Google Cloud, you would have many multiple ingredients and toppings, which would have made the journey very interesting. So tell us more about Papa John and what prompted you to adopt the cloud transformation journey and redesign the architecture of your entire organization.
Yeah, it's a great question and a great start, because I always believe in starting with the why. Why are we here? Why did we take on this data center transformation journey? So if you look at Papa John's as from a technology perspective, this is all, in our earnings call and public news. You can see, 70% of our digital, our business is driven by digital experiences. And we are looking at, multiple aspects of the other areas of the business and how we can transform those as well. And I always like to start with, when we talk about infrastructure, it's like the foundation of your home. Everything that kind of generates out of that foundation powers your home and makes it the most efficient and modern and adaptable to future needs. And that's how I see the infrastructure focus area for us. It's the foundation of all the digital aspects of every part of technology that we support here at Papa John's. And the way we started here is, we actually have a ton of platform as a service workloads with Google starting a few years ago. And I'm very proud to share that we have a nice set in the cloud native data and analytics infrastructure. And it has made us very agile at a customer-centric, data-driven mindset and helped us bring that to life. And there is, a different pace that we can move with because of these foundational workloads in Google Cloud. So after a few years, like many organizations, we started with experimentation in the cloud and got our feet wet, and then realized the power of being cloud native and continued expansion in the last few years. And then we looked at this other portion of our technology profile, and we realized that there is a lot of diversity in terms of the technologies we use, and it's not just the tool sets and technologies, but it's also processes, the way we do on-prem, if you will, versus the way we do things in the cloud. And that heterogeneity was slowing us down. So we took this approach to uh, do a lift and shift with what we have in the data center, and think about it as helping us get faster on all the transformation of all the tracks of the transformation. So that's kind of how we arrived here, and why this, we feel that the infrastructure layer and particularly things running in the data center today have been adding a lot of business value to Papa John's, and how do we take it to the next level by really modernizing the foundation and taking it to the cloud.
Thank you, Sarika. That's a lot of transformation for sure. And seems like you've adopted a cloud first journey and moving everything to the Google Cloud. And it's interesting how you talk about the technology foundation along with the process changes, along with a data centric approach, reaching out to consumers. I'm sure you'll have many other plans for driving revenues and better CSAT and customer experience through this new technology platform that you deployed. I think it would be great to understand what are the various solution components and approaches that HCL and Google Cloud helped you put together to deliver to this goal of yours.
Yeah, I would like to take a pause here. It's funny actually that we tend to jump to straight solutions in technology. We actually kind of call out on each other in the department as well, that hey, you're jumping straight to the solution. Let's talk about how, and I strongly believe in looking at cloud as how and not necessarily where. And that's kind of the cloud native mindset that we enrich here. And kind of in a similar fashion, this decision actually helped us formalize the cloud strategy. In the beginning, when we made the decision to embark on this journey of data center transformation, we really didn't have a formalized cloud strategy. We started slowly, and over the years our footprint kept getting bigger, but we this kind of forced us to think and decide various components of the cloud strategy, what should be in scope. It also helped us clean our asset inventory. And actually on the way, in this journey, we were fortunate enough to be able to decommission a ton of stuff, um, as we knew that there is no point in taking some of these apps to the cloud. It also kind of the other aspects of the cloud strategy, formalize our region strategy, where we should be versus not, and what should be primary, secondary. And it also brought a lot of goodness in terms of making the core infrastructure components as part of our architecture governance processes. We were really good at application architectures, data architectures, and for some reason the infrastructure side of things were not folded in as much and tightly into the architecture governance processes, and this data center transformation helped us tighten that and close the gap there. And as far as specific technologies and solutions, for us, Google Cloud was an easy choice, because we already had that experience, multiple years with our existing workloads, and we were able to see the benefits on those already. And as well as HCL, was also an easy choice. One of my leadership principles is to know that I'm not the smartest person in the room. So get the smart folks out there and get the help we need and achieve our goals. We strongly believe in our partnerships to drive business outcomes. And secondly, like, why reinvent something that others have already solved? HCL has all this experience with other enterprise level clients in their center transformation, and this engagement helped us kind of leverage that experience and expertise and accelerate our move. So they helped us, HCL helped us with kind of identifying where our workloads should land, which components of the platform we should be using, and part of that, our EA team as well kind of helped us identify, okay, what is the decision tree on saying Google Compute Engine versus GCVE, which is a VMware offering. So those type of decision trees were built, in partnership with HCL and with Google to arrive at our landing zones, and that type of a foundation really helped us stay focused once we start the execution.
Cloud transformation typically is a complex journey, Sarika, and as you know, it has components of cultural transformation, process transformation, architecture transformation, like the way you outlined it from your journey. And it seems to me that it would be a multi-year transformation journey for Papa John's as well. For customers who are now embarking on this journey, what would your advice be? What they should watch out for? What they should plan from your experience?
The list is long. I'm gonna try to trim it down here, and you can like tell by my face I'm so excited to even talk about it. I think the first, where I would like to start is have that long term view and have your full modernization roadmap, if not necessarily defined, but have a strategy. Something, Sanjay, you share very often is transition first and transform later. That's kind of what we have adopted here at Pop Johns as well. We see this data center transformation as kind of the first step. We calling it a lift and shift here. But there are several macro and several micro decisions you have to make along the way, and be prepared to do that, knowing that there is actually a lot of decision making capacity that you have to add. You won't believe that's like a real thing to plan for. And I shared some of the things about the macro decisions, like having a formal cloud strategy, a region strategy, architecture, governance processes. But then when you look at the micro level, when you start looking at your apps, having properly defined ownership on each app, and which of the 6 R's you're going to apply, and get rid of that tech debt while you're at it. So that's where I would like to start. But then, going back to the people, process, and tools um, pillars, it's very important. It's a real thing to keep in mind each of those pillars where you will have to invest energy. When you look at the people side, there has to be intentional effort on giving training opportunities, reskilling. And when you look at, processes, it's not only architecture, governance at the highest level, but there are just the way we work is very different now in the cloud. So what are the backup and recovery mechanisms that we would apply in the cloud versus on-prem, and are the monitoring tools that we have today, are those enough as we build this new infrastructure in the cloud? And I would start with metrics, metrics, and metrics. Establish your baseline on various types of metrics, number of apps you have, how often they're updated, supported, which of these will be migrated, and as you go through the migration process, keeping a tap on what's left out there is very important. And then new metrics will have to be defined, whether it's cost optimization, how you're measuring your spend at a SKU level on a monthly basis, are different other areas. I would say same for security metrics. So and then these are all different phases. And the other thing to keep in mind is don't lose your momentum post migration as well, because once you're um, done with the initial migration effort, there is the stabilizing the operations aspects, which all of these points that I mentioned are critical, but also building that culture of POCs with the platform and letting your teams try out the new products that are coming up and drive improvements in operations on a daily basis. That's an important aspect. I'll tell you the strongest thing that I feel I have to share is that having that commitment that within an year we want to kind of remove the data center footprint completely was a big driving factor for us. And that financial view, um, long-term financial view, kind of was really motivating to keep us on this massive transformation journey. And the lastly, I'll say HCL's automated migration tools, as well as the foundation build and methodology, helped us kind of get there faster with while we maintain our performance and scalability of the architecture.
Just to unpack a little bit, you mentioned something which caught my attention. You talked about doing POCs, bringing different groups together. Now that you have this, as I call it, a Ferrari in the garage, where you can now innovate at speed, would like to share as to how did you drive the culture of innovation with this capability, and anything that we can learn from that.
We strongly believe at Papa John's that technology innovation doesn't always happen at the top or in a particular layer in the organization. We feel it happens, at the ground level, where the people who are doing the work, and they are closest to the work, those are the ones who are the best decision makers. And same with our partners. We believe in innovation, ideas coming from everywhere. So we have several cadences set up, and a platform where we allow everyone to contribute their ideas and actually help them prioritize in the portfolio, if it's worth it, with a very cross-functional um, and a collaborative manner, where everyone can understand the benefits of an idea and know that there is value in implementing something. And this with this type of a transformation project, it impacts a lot of teams and a broad set of apps. So it's very important to have that sponsorship from the top. And typically, we wouldn't say that. Generally, we are a very collaborative organization, and um, it's not necessary to kind of have that top-down approach on everything. But with this being such a transformation journey, you want to make sure that the conversations are had at every layer of the organization, and people are prepared for the change, the complex change that you're driving. And if there is cross portfolio prioritization necessary, that happens as well.
You talked about setting up predominantly a center of cloud center of excellence, putting standards, creating a culture of experimentation, proof of concepts at every level. If you look at your project, it seems to be pretty complex. You're trying to achieve a full data center exit, and many of which you already achieved as we speak within a year, which is quite aggressive given your financial goals. You have the goals of financial gains as long as architectural stability, a homogeneous way of doing things, bringing the organizations at a different level of clock speed than before. If you were to highlight some of the key differentiators or unique aspects of your projects, or unique, what would those be, Sarika?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to start with, your point on, okay, how do POCs work, and how do you make sure that you feel great about a technology before it is built into the solution. So, the topmost is for me is having that POC ability and HCL's cloud native labs to make sure that something that we are proposing is actually going to work for the Papa John's use cases. And I think the other biggest thing I would say is the pricing model. I mean, there are various aspects of the pricing model that were pretty attractive for us. Whether it's, and there are some that are kind of commonly used probably by several other organizations, regardless of whether they're going through data center migration or purely, the cloud native offerings. But things like committed use discounts, or pricing that is targeted towards our SKUs that we were the most interested in, was key. I believe, even though the capabilities are there for, like the committed use discount, but actually like making the effort to modeling that out and then applying that from the get-go is, I feel, a big deal. And the pay for itself migration pricing was the other one, I would say.
Congratulations, Sarika, on a fantastic journey of Papa John's. As we look back, I'm sure there are some things together between HCL and Google and Papa John's we did well, some things we didn't do so well. If you have to share with the audience some lessons learned, if you had to do it all over again, what would you change? Are there any things like that you want to point out?
Yeah, that's a great ask. I always love to learn from others and apply those learnings, in what I do. And I think, for me, the some of this, I've already shared, but that C-level sponsorship is key, because your app engineering teams are always going to be delivering on the other business asks, and having that strategic view of how this transformation program is going to impact everything else in your portfolio is very critical. And um, like I said, you have to have conversations at multiple layers in the organization, but also setting realistic expectations about how complex this is, and what that impact would be, whether it's a downtime or disruption. And um, communicate multiple times at multiple places that this is coming, this is what it's going to do, but in the long run it's going to take you there much faster. The marketing of this project is as important as actually delivering it. The second one, I would say, is similar to what I said before, is long-term view. Have your financial model built on a very long-term view. That way, the ROI is attractive. If you're going to look at, a month or an year, it's not going to make sense. So, and looking at that, also helps you, motivates you to do your best, and um, brings commitment to the table from everybody that this we're gonna go through all this complex work, because it's gonna sustain us for a really long time. The last thing I'll say, which is like really near and dear to my heart, is the people. People are the most important aspect. You can talk about and you can create all these PowerPoints, but if you don't have um, everyone on the team energized about it, and bring their best to the table on this project, it's not gonna go well. And so making sure that you plan for their training, the reskilling, um, believing in the benefits of this concept, and showing them the full view of what's going to happen in the next few weeks, next few months, next few years, as much as possible, kind of um, helps bring everybody along. And they would invest in the new ways of working at the same time. So there was a lot packed in there, but those are my three nuggets.
Thank you. And like you say, Papa John's better ingredients make better pizza. Now you also have the better ingredients in terms of the Google Cloud platform, and you have various toppings in the form of data, AI, ML, serverless, and thus hybrid use cases to make the pizza even better. Congratulations. Fantastic learning, and thank you for your insights, Sarika. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your thin pizza.
Thank you.